Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nigel LEWIS. I'm the CEO of AbilityNet. We are a UK-based charity whose vision is a world where accessible IT is available to improve the quality of life for those with disability and accessibility needs. We have, for over 30 years, been focused on helping the disabled and the elderly get access to inclusive technology, by either helping them adapt their own personal technology or working with organisations, big, small, or through the government, to help them make their technology, their products, their services and their content accessible to the widest possible audience. Now, last year, we launched our new inclusion strategy called Mind the Digital Gap. It's bigger than you think. We were very lucky to launch this at our House of Parliament to a large and varied audience, and so far the feedback has been extremely positive. Within the strategy we have 6 key policies, which if we can implement, and we can't implement them alone, will generate, we believe, a major step change in digital inclusion and accessibility, and create what I would like to see as a real digital revolution. The core proposition of this strategy is that we're being asked to self-service more and more through the use of technology, whether this is using technology at work, in education, in the engagement with the government, or in our just day-to-day lives. However, our capability to do this self-service through this technology is not keeping pace with the digital environment in which we're expected to live. Our ability, and especially of those of the disabled and the elderly, to self-serve is and will continue to be a grave concern until we make the technology inclusive and accessible to the widest possible group. So I think today there is a greater risk than there's ever been before of social and economic isolation than at any time due to the relentless drive to digital self-service. Within the Mind the Digital Gap, the policy, I'm not going to cover all 6, you'll probably be pleased to hear, but I am going to focus on one linked to this conference's agenda, which is professionalising the ICT industry on inclusion. So a simple question: why don't more organisations and professionals deliver inclusive and accessible systems? The simple answer is too many IT professionals either don't know or don't think it's their job. And too many organisations don't include the need for inclusion as part of the system specification, the design process, the procurement and the delivery. One key challenge we face, if we are to make a step change, is to embed the understanding of inclusion throughout the IT profession. It has to move from this niche issue that sits in IT, and then actually it only sits down with the web designer and developer, doesn't it? To ensuring that all IT professionals' roles have a level of understanding. So all roles, including that of the project manager, the developer, the tester, the support staff, need to be informed and engaged with. However, we need to go much further. We also need to ensure that all parts of an organisation understand and accept the need for inclusion, from general management, the board and the executive, but marketing and HR, procurement and the supply chain. But even this is not enough. We have to educate the public of the need for inclusion. They are, as we know, generating most content these days. And one way we can achieve this, as we've already heard today, is by taking inclusion into schools. If we can educate young people of the need for inclusion and accessibility of the digital technology, the services and the content they produce, we can make a pervasive cultural change and make the step change that is required to succeed in the digital inclusion revolution. So how do we rise to this challenge and make a change? There are lots of things we need to do, but I'd like to just focus on 3. Firstly, inclusion and accessibility has to stop being seen as that niche, something that can be ignored. A recent survey by Skelton and On Ponte Marketing asked people who work within the design and digital agencies to share their views anonymously. Just under 22% agreed that clients asked for web designs to be accessible for people with disabilities. That means 80% of them don't. Fewer than half agreed that they understood actually how to design in the ways that improve accessibility for people with disabilities. So that leads to secondly, there is no formal recognised learning for inclusion and accessibility, either for an expert in this field or for the wider community. There are courses, and we've heard of some good ones today. In the UK, many of these are at university level, but there is certainly no training and education that embeds inclusion throughout the learning curriculum. So we need to work towards a situation where we teach at school the need for inclusion and accessibility. If we don't start here, we will never make the step change necessary, as more and more content is delivered by the individual. We need to ensure all ICT training, regardless of that role, has inclusion and accessibility embedded within it. If we can embed inclusion into things in the UK we have within the British Computer Society, the IT and Skills Framework, as well as others that I'm sure exist across the EU, we can make a great start in ensuring that people have the right level of knowledge for the right roles that they play. And then in further and higher education, we need to make sure, again as we've heard, that accessibility is part of the course. Only this comprehensive curriculum approach to teaching and educating in the field of inclusion will make the difference and make IT truly pervasive and usable by the widest audience. And thirdly, on the field of inclusion, we need to have a globally recognised accessibility qualification to turn the field into a true profession within the IT sector. I don't want to steal Dave's, I think you're up there, aren't you? Hi, Dave. I don't want to steal Dave's thunder for later, but we have to get our act together and create a professional training structure and certification that will become recognised and demanded by individuals, but more importantly, be demanded by organisations that employ those IT professionals. So, what can we do to help the challenge and change the situation and start that revolution? So I've come up with an analogy. See if it works, first time I've tried it. I'm equating the challenge that we face to that challenge faced by global warming. For years, the passionate few brought a few and clear, consistent message of the dangers of and the actions required to prevent global warming. I would imagine that everybody in this room would understand the simple message of what action needed to be taken. We have to do the same for digital inclusion. We have to agree as a community to what is a clear and consistent message and join together to deliver it. If we can do this, we can make some of that step change. Only through joining together can we take inclusion out of this niche area delivered by us, the passionate few, and into the mainstream, always delivered every time. In the UK, we have created an organisation called One Voice, which consists of members all passionate in digital inclusion and who want to make a difference. The aim is to try and coordinate activity across the members so we have a bigger, more impactful voice. We're also working towards joining forces with other groups who are also in the digital inclusion arena. So far, I know of 15, and I've just discovered another one today, and that is in the UK alone. If we can come together, think of the impact we will have. And this is just in the UK. What if we came together across the EU and around the world? Then we would truly achieve something. Now, I know this is a challenge. We all have varying agendas, passions, drivers, but we also have true commonality in what we are trying to achieve. It's not about losing control or identity, but we do have to put aside some personal differences. We can't wait another 20 years The need for change, I believe, is now. So let's look at how we in AbilityNet are coping to try and ensure we have the experienced and appropriately trained staff available to deliver inclusion and accessibility services. Well, as I've said, there's nothing really out there. Firstly, we look to recruit experienced consultants, people who come ready prepared, those that have scars on their backs, as we would say. And when we look at individuals, however, we can't rely on any formal qualification or professional association on which we can ensure that they have the capabilities they want. So we have to look at experience. And yes, we set tests during our interview process. So if anybody wants a job at AbilityNet, be prepared to be tested. Because we have to ensure we're getting the right quality of individuals. But the problem is the pool of talent is very limited. So we are embarking on our own training program. We have created a 15-module training program to teach our graduates on how to become inclusion and accessibility consultants. Now, the creation and the maintenance of that program has become highly beneficial to our existing experts, as through that creation and maintenance of the content, it has really helped to sharpen and maintain their own skills. But never to miss an opportunity as a charity, we also use the training package as a commodity that we sell to our clients, teaching their staff so that they become more self-sufficient and they can start down the path of embedding inclusion and making it the norm within their own organisations. We have also created, in partnership with the Equality and Human Rights Commission and the British Computer Society, an online learning course called Digital Accessibility Web Essentials, which is aimed at teaching organisations on the issues of disability and accessibility. So far, this is very much an entry level of the course, which is aimed at the widest possible audience. So not just those IT staff, but their managers, their marketing department, their HR, etc., so that everyone in the organisation can understand the issues and needs. And we see this as a key element to generate demand for the production of inclusive digital technology. We also plan to grow the Web Essentials course in complexity up the various learning levels over time. Through these activities, we not only maintain and enhance the level of knowledge of our own experts, but we are also creating the next generation of inclusion professionals. This ensures that we have the talent to deliver our services to help organisations create their own systems, services and content. I'm sure all of us in this room understands the importance of user-centric inclusive design. Without this approach, including users at the heart of the process, from inception through to completion, we all too often get systems, processes and content that for all too many are unusable. It seems obvious to all of us. Why would you go to the effort of spending sometimes huge sums of euros building a digital system which can't be used by millions or even tens of millions? It doesn't make sense. We also know inclusion and accessibility doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Great inclusive digital engagement can be created at a very reasonable cost. By thinking of the user, creating and using a wide range of persona and putting users at the heart, testing realistically can achieve inclusive design. Now because I'm very proud, I just want to showcase with you one little piece of work we did last year, which was we were working on the Olympics and the Paralympics. Not only was this the largest attended Paralympic competition, but the Olympic delivery team started work from the outset to ensure their design and digital presence were accessible. From the beginning, the Olympic Delivery Authority engaged with AbilityNet for advice on all aspects of inclusion, not only for their own specific systems, but also for those of their delivery partners. We were asked to deliver consultancy, and user testing for a varying array of digital and also for their offline content, from the initial design, the creation of the artwork for brochures, the daily What's On information guides. And we provided a range of our expert staff, but more importantly, together with our disabled user testers, including those with their disabilities and access issues, to help test all aspects for the Olympics. We were incredibly proud to have been a partner of London 2012. I have to say it's only now that I can actually say this in an open forum some 6 months after the Olympics. And we are very proud to have made a contribution to helping them be the most inclusive games ever. So, in summary, I think we have 3 things that I'm picking on that we need to do to make a step change. We do have to join together as a single voice on digital inclusion, with the same message, driving the same direction at events like this and in the work we do. I believe we need to coordinate our activities on how we promote and campaign for digital inclusion using those same consistent messages. If we fail to do this, and I have evidence of this in the UK, we send a confused, uncoordinated message which certainly allows my government and my public sector departments to ignore the needs of the disabled, elderly and those with accessibility issues. And we cannot let this happen. Secondly, we have to generate that demand for digital inclusion. And one way we can do this is by training. And it's a very specific activity that I think we can achieve. If we can teach experts in a consistent way, teaching all of those IT professionals and teaching the wider community in business, government, and the third sector and the wider public, again, we can make a step change. And lastly, we need to make inclusion and accessibility professional so that it is seen as a profession, just as a designer is, or a security person, or a project manager is. And I'll leave Dave 2 plugs to expand on this. So yes, there are some huge challenges, but now, more than ever before, we must make sure that the digital world in which we live, and which is becoming ever more present, includes everybody. Thank you.